I'm Ashley from the Motherhood Circle. I'm really excited that you're listening to this episode or watching this episode. I have to apologize because I recorded this and I'm gonna blame baby brain. I can't even say it. Baby brain on this because I clicked the wrong setting. So you're going to see the whole interview with Katie's beautiful face on the screen. So normally it would actually flash to my face when I'm talking, but unfortunately I pressed the wrong setting. So you're going to be seeing Katie's beautiful face. We're going to be talking about sleep today. It's a really important topic that newborn mothers, new mothers and parents really are interested in. So please enjoy, sit back, have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and relax and enjoy. Thank you so much. Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really, really excited to have you on. I guess I'd better let the audience know what I actually did. We recorded something, I think it was the start of the year, and I recorded this with you because I was really passionate about something that you had said on your social media. And you and I had connected because we've done a similar course. We've done the same course actually for postpartum. And then I recorded it and then I got pregnant and I totally forgot to edit it and then I deleted it. And then I had to shamefully come back and ask you to re-record. So thank you so much for coming on because
you're welcome.
I
It's
really
lovely
appreciate
to
it.
chat with you again anytime.
Yeah, and this time I'm going to pick your brains on similar topics that we were talking about last time, but also going to pick your brains on some of the questions that my clients have in my program, Journey into Motherhood. So this is a really special segment. So thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Lovely to see you again.
Yeah, share a little bit about yourself with the audience so they can get to know you a little bit more.
Yes, well, as mentioned, my name's Katie. I've been a midwife for 25 years. I've got 4 children of my own, none of whom slept brilliantly, but adequately. And ironically, later on in life, I've now gone down the track of sleep consulting purely by accident. Back in the day when mine were little, it's not something I would ever have considered myself doing. I didn't really believe in any of it. But yeah, here I am, but kind of doing it not alongside midwifery because I've stopped actually doing midwife work now, but very much wholeheartedly still as a midwife approaching sleep from holistic point of view in terms of mum and baby as one and the family unit. So it's quite.
And you're stuck in Melbourne at the moment through COVID in lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's winter, it's boring, and we're stuck at home. And when we do go out, we've got to wear face masks. But we're keeping safe. And
you're doing a lot of your you've had to adapt your work as well to more online work rather than face to face as well.
Yeah, and that's going really well. I did think at the beginning of it all that it would take a big nosedive and nobody would want me. But then we really got stuck into the phone option, which was always there as an option. It was a service that I provided, but a lot of people naturally thought it wouldn't be enough to solve their sleep problems. I think everybody assumes they've got the worst sleeper in the world, and how can you possibly get my baby to sleep over the phone? I don't get babies to sleep over the phone, but I do get to the root of the problem and give all the information that the parents need to move forward and continue with them in many cases and coach them through the changes and any troubleshooting that needs to be gone through. We do that together and we come up with the answer. So same results, but in a different way.
Yeah, I've always loved online connection anyways. So to me, it makes complete sense. But I know some people really love to meet in person. I think this whole COVID has completely changed, how we have to, connect with experts and get resources and get support. So I'm glad that you've been able to do that with your business.
Yeah, I think the only kind of downside really of not being able to visit people in their homes is when people have real issues energetically, I guess, with being calm around sleep and helping their child feel relaxed enough to fall asleep. If there's been a lot of tension around it, I can't be in that room with them just saying it's all right. So that's the only thing. But in most cases, our conversations are enough to bolster people and off they go and get on with it. And they always know they can call again next day if it doesn't go quite to plan.
Oh, that's good. So thank you so much for coming on again. I think we'll start off with how we got connected last time, and what I really wanted to share with my community last time is because I saw you post on your social media about babies crying in cars and how that was normal. You know, quite often mums or parents get their babies in a car when they're not sleeping and go for a drive and the baby's crying. And that really, I don't know, it was a bit of a trigger for me, I suppose. It sparked something inside me because I quite often get triggered when I see these posts going around about, you know, your baby can't cry, your baby's not allowed to cry, your baby's going to get brain damage, you know, something is going to happen really badly to your baby if your baby cries. And so from a point of view of looking at it, you know, not giving a mother or a parent another way out or a safe space to allow their child to cry if they need that separation or they need a, you know, 10-minute breather. I found, you know, while the articles that get spread around are, you know, they're trying to support mothers to, you know, not allow their babies to cry out for an hour and really cause psychological issues, but they're not providing the extra information on when it is okay or, you know, some of the other stuff. So it kind of boxes mothers into a corner of thinking, oh my goodness, if my baby cries, my baby's going to get severely, you know, brain damage. I'm going to be a bad mum. So I've got to hold my baby. And that's when the whole shaking baby, throwing baby, you know, postnatal depression comes in. So yes, I connected with you on that because I think it was a really popular post that you had.
I don't know if popular is the word. Emotive might be the word. I didn't realize it would trigger people so much. There was a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is terrible." I kind of think they missed my point. I wasn't saying, you know, it's come home and do that too, and everything will be fine. I wasn't saying that at all. But I just thought it was interesting that people kind of accept it's more socially acceptable to have your baby cry before sleep if the baby's in the car and strapped into a chair where they can't see mum even, you know, versus maybe having a cot settle, excuse me, having a cot settle at home with mum in sight, and the baby crying because obviously he's used to being fed to sleep or something like that, and mum's decided she can't, it's not sustainable to do it that way, so she's trying a new way. But you know, she might, I don't know, be criticized for even considering a method that involves some unhappiness on the part of the baby. Even though to me it seems kind of kinder than in the car where the baby can't see you and they're strapped into a chair. It's kind of seems a lot more gentle in the cot to me than that. But it's a big sticking point for a lot of people. Does that make sense?
I find that driving when a baby's crying is extremely stressful for me because that baby crying is like a trigger point in your body that the adrenaline just rises. How can I'm not saying about everyone, but I know in myself, I can't drive safely when my babies are crying because it stresses me out. So I have to pull over and hold my baby anyways. But I remember, this is a bit of an off-topic story, but when my first baby was born, I was in the hospital, and I think it was the second night because I had a unplanned cesarean. So the second night, my husband wasn't allowed to stay with me, and I was running away from the midwife because the night midwife was actually quite a mean lady. And she's like, I found you, there you are. And she could hear my baby was crying, and I'd wrapped her up, and her arms were coming out. I wasn't sure what was happening, but she was crying, and I was just letting her cry. She wasn't screaming, but I was letting her cry, and I was watching her, and I was like, what's wrong? I've changed your bottom. You've had a feed, you know, you're swaddled up. I was trying to connect with her and trying to figure out what was wrong with my baby because I knew there was something that I was missing, and I just needed to learn because I'd never been around babies, and I was just sitting there like watching her. So the midwife obviously thought that was a bit of a sign that I could be, you know, disconnected from my baby or, you know, be struggling emotionally or whatever it was. Being able to look back on that, you know, would definitely be a sign for me as a postpartum doula to, you know, maybe a red flag. But what had happened was, you know, I said to her, she's like, I want to take your baby. I'll take your baby overnight. I'll look after her. And I said, no, I just need to figure out what's going on because she's unsettled and she shouldn't be unsettled. I personally felt, just intuitively. And later that night, when I had pushed her back into our room and everything, I'd found that what was happening was her little arm was coming out of her swaddle that the midwives were wrapping up. And that was waking her up and making her really unsettled. So I put her in a Love to Dream swaddle, the zipper, and she slept all night long. And my husband came in the morning because the first night, you know, it was a nightmare. The reason why she was a nightmare midwife is because I had a cesarean, I couldn't move, and I had to keep pressing the buzzer, you know, every hour for her to pick up the baby. And she said, I don't have time to do this. You just have to sleep with her on you. And I was petrified all night long because I knew that wasn't the recommendation. And so the second night I was adamant I was going to do this, you know, even if it meant me staying awake all night, I was going to survive. And my husband came as soon as he could get let in the door the next morning, and I'd already had a shower. I was like refreshed. And he's like, where's the baby? And I was like, oh, she's over there. She's sleeping. He's like, what? Because when he came the day before, she was screaming. I said, yeah, she's fine. She's sleeping because
figured out what she needed.
She figured out. And then she was just a really great sleeper from then on. That was obviously luck. You know, I've had really great sleepers, but I suppose that stuck with me as well, the stigma around a little baby crying. And, you know, I had seen other people stress, you know, it really freaks them out if a baby cries a little bit.
That's great that you just were so rational about it that you could stand back and go, right, let's think about this. She's not going to explode while I think for a minute, you know. That's really
good. And I'd taken her away from all the other mums because we were sharing 4 to a room, so I'd taken her right the way down so I wouldn't disrupt anyone else. But and that's why now I talk a lot about intuition and listening to yourself. That was my first step as a mum, to really say, I had a professional here who couldn't resolve the issue, who had never talked about any other swaddle options or anything. And here I was as a first-time mum who knew nothing about babies, and I could, you know, tend to my baby. And I was like, that was a little one-up for me as a mum, that, you know, accelerated my confidence. So, yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, it's intuition is important, and I think in this day and age, you know, with so much knowledge and so many experts out there, it's easy to go, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, so I need to get an expert in to sort this out.
And that's something that I like about what you do with your clients, because your service is really tailored to the individual and their circumstances. You really tune into the mother and the baby, the family, and what's happening in that situation, rather than a one-size-fits-all model, which is not helpful most of the time because every baby's individual, every parent's individual, everyone mothers so differently, and we all have different schedules. So I really love that you do that.
And we've all got different support networks as well. Some people have no support at all. Some people have, I don't know, some people are looking after a terminally ill mother. Some people have a horde of stepchildren that are there one weekend and not the other. Some people, not that it's ever really openly talked about to me, but I suspect that in some cases there's maybe some domestic violence in some form, even if it's psychological, not you know, or verbal, not physical. I do get the sense of that sometimes, and I really wish there was more I could do there, but you know, it's tricky. But anyway, the main message is so many different scenarios
and variables,
challenges.
Yeah. And you know, I'm about to have my third one, and now I'm going to have to do school runs. So I'm pretty sure as they get a bit older, the baby likes to sleep at 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'm going to be out and about with my baby. It's making me cringe already.
Just last night, I was talking to a mum who's on her third child, and she's trying to follow a well-known sleep program that worked well for her first child. And I said, so the program has her putting her baby down actually for 5 sleeps a day, and this baby's 5 months old. And I said, if nothing else, third babies need to be portable and flexible, and yes, maybe you might get 1 nap in the cot a day, but apart from that, they're going to be on the run.
Yeah.
And they're just going to have to happen when you can do them. And so that was quite a relief for her to know that, yeah, she wasn't failing. She wasn't failing because
Yeah.
she couldn't stick to this routine.
No, and that's definitely something that has to happen when especially when you've got a child that, another child who is in school and you've got to do drop-offs and pickups. Whereas when I had my first baby, I was at home all day long. And I remember one of my, close friends had an older child, and I thought, God, how does she cope? And her baby wasn't getting any sleep. And, you've just got to make do with your lifestyle and, your situation and try to fit it in where you can, kind of thing. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes I think the more children you have, the less you're certain of the answers. You just think, right, well, each child is different, so let's just go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. And, thinking about my second child, actually, when I had my first child, I was able to get up and tend to her whenever she was crying, during the day. The first thing I could do was get up and go run and pick my baby up so she wasn't crying. But with my second baby, I had a toddler who was 24 months old, who quite often, if I didn't tend to her first, she would then be uncontrollable for an hour. So it was like, let the baby cry for 10 minutes while I soothe this emotional wreck of a toddler, or be in a world of pain where I've got one baby crying because she's crying and everyone's crying and I'm crying. And so you can't just tend to your newborn or your new baby.
And that's often an analogy I'll use for really overwhelmed first-time mums when they're saying, oh, but, she's crying, I've got to go into her straight away. And I say, okay, just imagine now, without trying to patronize her, but just to kind of put it in perspective. Yeah, right. Imagine you've got maybe 2 or 3 other children now. One's just done a poo on the floor, the other's just vomited, and another one's got a knife he's about to stick in a socket. You're going to have to do some prioritizing, and it's okay for your mental health to be one of those priorities as well. And sometimes you just have to go, you know what, I've been trying to get that bloody dishwasher on all day, so I know you're fed, I know you're clean, you're loved more than you could possibly know. I'm just going to go put the dishwasher on and then I'll come back.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
for that sense of achieving something in your day.
Yeah, and it can be so stressful. I know, like, when I hear a crying baby, it is so stressful for me. So having to tend to the baby, which, once they wake up, you've got to kind of hold them for a long time. You might be sitting there for an hour breastfeeding. So it's not like you're just grabbing the baby and putting them down. Sometimes you can do that, but other times you've got to then give that baby your full undivided attention for an hour or two.
Yeah, and if you're going to feed comfortably and have a really good letdown of milk, you need to know that the things that are bothering you are sorted. Otherwise, you're not going to relax, and your letdown's not going to happen, and the baby's going to pick up on it. And
And how many times have I heard a mum say, I weed myself because I didn't go to the toilet first, you know what I mean? And it's like, go to the toilet before you go pick up your baby, or, do not. It's a basic human need.
And that's, I think, the mistake that, not that I like the word mistake a lot, but the thing that people forget to do a lot when they go to tend to their babies at night. They're waking and they just fly in there without really a plan. And then they go, oh, actually, I needed a wee. I should have done that before I came in. And God, it's a bit cold in here. I should have got a jumper. And so that's when they might give up on a plan that they might have had at bedtime to, just calmly sit and resettle instead of just dragging them into bed with them if that's not what they want to do.
Because you can be stuck in that bedroom. We've all seen our fair share of where there's the mum like on the floor and she's sneaking away, like crawling away.
Ninjaing out.
We have all done that as parents. I remember my husband like going into the room to soothe our youngest or our second child, and I would walk past there like 15 minutes later and he's snoring, he's asleep. And,
how do you do that?
And he's asleep on the floor. And I'm like, you've got to get up. So I've got to go in there and wake him up to get him up. But and then I would always be the one sneaking out of there, or commando rolling out of there too. But if you didn't.
Ninjaing.
Yes. Oh, God. All the joys of little babies, hey? It goes quick though.
I know the days are long, but the years go fast. That's for sure.
They do, and now mine are 3.5 and 5.5, and I haven't had that for a long time. And now I'll be going back into this again with a new baby, so it's all bringing it all back up for me. But Let's jump into some of these questions that some of my
Yes.
clients had. So in my Journey into Motherhood program, one of the benefits is that, I can connect with amazing experts like yourself and ask more, actually ask questions that they've got, which is a real great benefit for them. So you've been kind enough to jump on today and answer some of those
Yes.
questions for my clients.
Yes.
And you have a bit
So,
of a summary for me that you've written down.
well, so they've just gone off the screen now. I've got some on my
Post-it
post-it.
note.
What happened there? Okay, so the first question, and if you've got the whole question there, because like I said, the screen's just disappeared. Should you feed a baby in the night? Can you just elaborate on what that question? Oh, here we are. It's back up now. So,
Great.
should you feed a baby during the night? Does it affect how much solid food they've eaten and which types are best for dinner to sleep after? Okay, so I think this is asking when is a good time to night wean. Do you think that's what she's kind of asking?
Possibly. Let me have a quick look at the question. I had it up and it's gone now. I
But
think
I think a lot of GPs specifically will tell mums that by 6 months, baby should be able to go through all night without a feed, and that's generally when I look at all the mums out there who are feeding, most breastfeeders particularly are still feeding at 6 months overnight easily. And usually if people are really keen to give up or they want to drop it, then I'll often say, well, 8 to 9 months generally is an accepted window of time for breastfeeding overnight to continue until, or around about 10 kilos. Having said that, of course, if you don't have a problem with the breastfeeding overnight or bottle feeding or whatever, it can continue as long as you want it to. I guess it becomes an issue when the baby's consuming so many calories at night that then they're not eating the food that they should in the day. And that brings me on to the
how do
second part of
we,
the question.
with my daughter, she naturally self-weaned from breastfeeding by 12 months. So I was only really doing like one feed in the day and she just naturally weaned herself in the night, didn't really wake up. I'd just go in there and kind of pat her. How do they kind of encourage the weaning?
Well,
And
I think the main thing is to find out why they're feeding. So are they feeding because they're hungry or do they feed as a way to go back to sleep? So if it's the latter and they're feeding to go back to sleep, it's really addressing that need at the beginning of the night and making sure that that's just not what they believe is how they're supposed to go to sleep. So for example, if you can get your baby just to settle in the cot without the need for a feed to fall asleep at the beginning of the night, then it's more likely to happen overnight too. Another trick that I have up my sleeve often is to encourage dream feeds rather than spontaneous demand feeds overnight, just for a time. So for a week or 2 weeks, to just really take care of the nutritional needs like you would for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You present those meals. You don't wait for their child to go, hang on, I'm hungry, I need dinner now. It's just there, it's ready. So for a child that maybe feeds twice overnight who is ready to night wean, or mum is ready to night wean, then I would say first of all take charge of those feeds. If you can, feed them before they wake up. And then you've got a little bit more control about how long the feed can go for, maybe. If the baby's still asleep, you could just do one breast instead and then put them back down. And every other wake up, resettle. Knowing in your heart of hearts that he's not hungry because you've already fed him, it just makes that question mark in your head disappear a little bit in terms of, well, he's hungry, I feel bad for him, I need to feed him. Well, you fed him an hour ago. So now we're really getting to the nitty gritty of, is he waking up? And then looking for the breast as a means of going back to sleep rather than because his tummy's empty.
Okay.
And
That
then
makes
over
sense.
time, once they've practiced resettling over and over, and every wake up on their behalf is treated in the same way, then it actually turns out that when you stop the dream feeds, or often what happens is mums will say, oh, I forgot to set my second alarm. And I go, oh, good. What happened? Well, you slept through till morning. There you go. I was hoping you would do that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at how much solid food they've eaten and which types are best for dinner to sleep after.
Well, I guess, look, kids before one, Before one, food's just for fun, isn't it? They say.
Mm.
So milk is always a priority in the first 12 months. After that, then obviously it becomes more about the food first and the milk second. So what's the question? Which types are best for dinner, or how should
What types of foods?
what types of food? Okay, so I've got that in my little notebook here, and I've highlighted it. So foods that are rich in tryptophan and vitamin B actively support the production of our natural sleepy hormones, melatonin and serotonin. And these include chicken, turkey. I don't know if you can get that all year round. Chicken, turkey, nuts, bananas, oats, eggs, and dairy. Obviously, assuming there's no intolerance to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And other nutrients beneficial for a good night's sleep: magnesium, iron, zinc, and essential fatty acids such as omega-3, which can be found in salmon, tuna, avocado, seeds, nuts, and vegetable oils. So I think as long as your child's getting a really rich and varied diet, all of those things will be in there. So, you don't have to get a list and tick off your magnesium, zinc, iron, all of those kind of things. But yeah, a good balanced diet is essential. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's good to know. That sounds like breakfast or dinner for a king, actually, or a queen. Salmon, chicken.
But there are actually, and the other thing I highlighted was the fact that there are unhelpful foods as well. So things that might inhibit sleep or cause an unsettled sleep. Obviously, if there's any food intolerance there, you're going to steer clear of those anyway. But some babies have really unsettled night's sleep. Over the years, I've discovered that a lot of red meat at bedtime can have that effect on some children when they've got an immature digestive system. They might just kind of squirm, not necessarily wake up, but squirm and just look uncomfortable and shout out randomly in the night. And then other like really windy foods like broccoli, cauliflower, eggplant, fried foods, and beans have also been known to affect their sleep. So that's something worth bearing in mind. It's quite a minefield when you start to get into, or is it something food related?
But yeah, and it might not be food related, or it might just baby just needs a little. I don't know what mum's doing because I didn't ask her more questions, but it could be baby just needs a little pat. I know with my daughters sometimes all they needed was a blanket pulled up and a little pat on the back.
Reassurance. Yeah, it could just be a call out to say, "You still there?"
Yeah. And sometimes the way that we behave and the way that we respond to the baby sometimes makes them, like sometimes if you're showing less interest, sometimes they just go back to sleep. But sometimes if you're like eager to run in there, they're like, "Hi, I'm here to play."
It's all about your energy. It's all about, like, we just need to teach them what nighttime is about. And nighttime is supposed to be boring, and it's supposed to be quiet, and it's supposed to be relaxing. So, to have someone come in and sweep them out of the cot and go, "What's wrong? Is everything all right?" That's kind of quite lively and exciting. If the baby was just having a bit of a stir and a whinge, then they might not even have been awake in a lot of cases.
And also, if you're sharing the room like this mum is, the baby, I know my baby would wake up from my husband snoring when we were together. It would wake us both up because my husband's quite a loud snorer. We would both wake up and she would start crying. So snoring or loud farting could be two things that maybe wouldn't wake us up, but maybe is waking up a new baby, a baby, for instance, or they might be hearing you tossing and turning, things like that, which makes it hard if you've only got the one.
And they're going to be lighter sleepers if their sleep has been suffering lately anyway. So they can stir very easily. So I guess for that family who are having to share a bedroom, something simple like some rain sounds, like white noise. People always think of the radio static white noise. It's not a favourite of mine. I don't like it at all. But rain sounds are a nice one to listen to. So to have those on in the room might just muffle those farts a little bit.
Yeah. Well, actually, my daughter and my husband listen to, because they sleep together at the moment, she calls it the turtle music because, it's YouTube and there's a turtle turtle, and it's ocean music with some other tones through it.
Yeah.
I put that on during the day for her nap time. She's out like a light for 2 hours, and
Wow.
as soon as we put it on at night time, she's out like a light. She's gotten used to this is sleep time, and I know that that was the case for a friend of mine's baby too, with the sound. So yeah, the sound is a really great tool to get them to
Yes.
realize this is sleep time. Just like
My son has come to white noise in his 12th year of life, and now he plays on the Google, the home minis they've got. We hear this raging torrent of a river every night in his room, and we're just trying to get him to drop the volume. So that's funny. He didn't have it as a baby, but he has
he's
it
at Niagara Falls.
Yes, I know. And the fan on full
Yeah,
blast. So we're
I'm
trying
the
to.
fan on full blast too.
Oh,
With the
trying to,
covers
yeah.
right up and the heater
So,
on, and
so watching the show about carbon emissions the other night, we're saying, you might need to just pick one or the other.
yeah,
Let's turn something off, shall we?
yeah, that's a good idea. Awesome. So that's good for the number one.
Yeah.
I think there's another question.
So cot or co-sleep at the moment, but driving me insane. Would love him in another room if we had one. A few of my clients have put their babies in the walk-in wardrobe. They sleep quite well in a walk-in wardrobe, I have to say. So that's possible if they've
I
got
don't
one.
think they have a walk-in wardrobe.
No. Okay.
We are still swaddling, so advice on how to transition out of this. If
So
his
how
arms are
old's this
free,
baby?
he's about to turn 1.
Oh gosh. Okay.
We're still swaddling, so advice on how to transition out this. If his arms are free, he uses them to roll over and sit up,
Yeah,
even
that's
once he's
okay.
fallen asleep and I
Okay.
unswaddle.
Yeah.
Now, I
Okay.
don't know if his arms are free. I'm assuming his arms are free. I mean, I swaddled my babies. I mean, if you want to call it swaddling. I mean, my
Well,
daughter
it
was
sounds
in a
like his arms are down
sleeping
because
bag.
he uses his arms to sit up, doesn't he? So I
Yeah.
think he's actually got his arms still strapped in. And I think at the age of 1, there's probably no gradual way of doing it. But I think it's for the parents to accept that when you put a child in his cot at 1, that's his space. And you have to respect that he is allowed to do whatever he wants in that cot. And if that includes standing up or sitting up, he is entitled to do what he wants until he feels ready to go to sleep. It's not about controlling them and making them do something. It's about allowing them time to explore what they need to do and then make that choice, make that decision. Oh, I'm feeling really tired. I'm just going to lie down for a bit. Yes. And then you're not needed so much for all this input. He can go, oh, I know what to do. I can take care of that.
So that would
If he
probably
like,
mean popping baby to sleep before you're going to sleep as well, if they're in the same room kind of thing. I don't know what time baby's going to sleep or anything.
time as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, you froze for a second.
Oh, okay. So and also with the sleeping bags, it's okay when their arms are out to have those sleeping bags and everything, isn't it? Because in the winter it might be
Yes, yeah.
okay for them, but if
Yeah,
they don't
and
need
even when they go into bed as well, I always say it slows them down from running around the house a bit when they know they're free to get out of bed whenever they want.
that's good to
No,
know.
they do master the penguin waddle in those.
Okay, let's
So
look at the other one.
yeah, what were you saying about putting him to sleep before they get into bed?
I was I was
I think you could do
saying,
it at the same time if they're in the same room.
well, if my child was running around in their cot, I think that would be quite disruptive. I'd want to sneak in once they're sleeping.
Okay. Yeah,
But
but
everyone's different.
there's nothing more you're delivering the message really clearly if you get into bed at the same time as well, and you're clearly saying it's bedtime, it's time to go to sleep.
Okay.
But yeah, look, it could take him an hour the first time he's dealing with that freedom, probably half an hour if he's really tired. But it needs to dawn on him what he at 1 they should be able to make the connection of what they need to do around sleep time.
Okay. Awesome. That sounds good too. And what about, like, do you ever recommend any oils or anything like that with your clients?
I think generally by the time people have come to me, there's a few more issues there that need to be resolved. But yeah, there's a lot of clients do use oils, but I don't think that on its own is going to fix a lot of the issues that are brought to my attention.
Okay. All right, let's go into the next question from another mum. For my nearly 1-year-old, it is more of how to wean and resettle gently as I'm still breastfeeding during the night. One feed around 9 or 10 p.m., which is probably, bedtime. And then usually he wakes up maybe around 2 or 3.
3, yeah.
Especially in the transition of going back to work. So she'll be going back to work in a number of weeks now. He sucks his thumb so he can self-soothe to sleep with a soft toy.
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, this might be a situation where if she can offer the breastfeed before he actually wakes up, or she, is it she or he?
Yeah.
Him. If
Yeah,
she
him,
can offer him the feed before he wakes up and get a bit of control over them, then she might be able to wean him in a less noisy fashion. Because obviously, if you tell a 1-year-old, I'm not going to feed you tonight, oh my goodness. Like, it can be done like that, but if she wants an easier way, I would say if she can pick the times to just offer the feed, but then offer less of it over time, and just reassure it all. Like if he's got his thumb and his toy for resettling, if he's not hungry, then he should just be able to resettle between feeds anyway, as his tummy gradually gets reduced to having used to having less volume in there, and that way she's not going to be left with enormous big boobs and the possibility of mastitis overnight, just going cold turkey. Like I know a lot of the sleep schools just say, right, that's it, no more feeds. And what's poor mum supposed to do with these gorgeous breasts that are overflowing?
That makes sense. And then lately, however, I can't get him to sleep, so I walk around the room, shushing, walking around the room in my arms, or sometimes spinning around so he becomes dizzy. Seems to work when I'm desperate, and my 3-year-old struggles to go to sleep.
Okay, so that's another child.
Yeah, that's another child. So
okay, yeah. So don't set yourself up for something that's not sustainable, I would say. Like there seems to be a lot more involved here. Like I need to really know, well, what are nap times like? If they're getting enough sleep in the day, are they getting too much sleep in the day? For a lot of children, and I suspect with the 3-year-old as well. Does the 3-year-old have naps in the day? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but I know with my children, there's sometimes the sleeps has got pushed back. So instead of 7 p.m, it was like 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and then she was ready. And then I was like, that was fine for us because she could go to bed at 8 and she would sleep, and I wouldn't have to do all that for an hour, trying to get her to sleep. Could it be a matter of pushing back the sleep a little bit?
So this is for a 1-year-old we're talking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for a 1-year-old, you're looking at about a 6-hour awake window between their last nap. If they're on one nap, it's a 6-hour awake window between nap and bed. So a lot of people just try and stick to it's almost like it's a deadline, 7 p.m. They've got to be in bed by 7, and if they're in bed every night at the same time, they'll turn into really good sleepers. Look, it's just not the case. There's a lot more to it than that. And I find that a flexible bedtime is much more useful. It's no good putting a 1-year-old to bed at 7 o'clock if he woke up from his nap at 3. Unless he's on 2 naps. If he's on 2 naps, the awake windows are a bit shorter, but if it's just 1 nap, then they could be a lot longer. And for the 3-year-old, if that little one's still having a day nap, then mum needs to bear in mind that that child needs at least 7 hours between the nap and bedtime. So that's often where a lot of people struggle. And generally,
that's probably where I've struggled a little bit when my daughter falls asleep at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon and it's still buzzing at night.
I know, and they only need 10 minutes, don't they? But yeah, it really is a reality for a lot of families. And once I say, well, look, while they still need a daytime nap, you're just going to have to accept that bedtimes are going to get later and later and later until you feel that, okay, we can ditch the daytime nap, but then go to a 6 p.m. bedtime instead.
Okay.
So it's the trade-off.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. And also I find sometimes we miss babies' cues, or they might be overtired, which can make it a little bit harder to get them to sleep, especially little babies.
Yes, little babies.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know about the sleeping times, because I didn't know that about sleep times.
There you go.
Yeah, or nap times.
So on one nap, a 12-month-old is about 6 hours in the afternoon, less in the morning. a 2 to 3 year old would be 7 hours, and a 3 to 4 year old would be about 8. So
And a
it's
3 to
quite,
4 is 8, is it?
yeah,
Wow.
with about 6 hours in the morning. So that doesn't leave an awful lot of time for actual nap. And
Yeah.
obviously, while they're still needing a nap, then you can't really expect 12 hours overnight. It's just not realistic. It's probably more like 10.
Okay. Well, I think you've answered all of our questions and been very generous with providing so much information
Oh, I
that I
could
think
go
it'll
on.
be really great. I know you could talk
Talk
about it for
behind leg up a
days.
donkey. I could.
So
Get me
thank you
started.
so much. Did you have anything else you wanted to share with the audience today at all?
What else can I say? So at the moment, I'm in the process of writing a small, what am I going to call it? It's going to be a 21-day sleep challenge for toddlers.
Oh, awesome.
So, yep, sit tight and watch for that coming out. It's going to be small groups to start with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, kind of, I think from feedback on different sleep training sort of methods and approaches, I've heard that a lot of mums feel the value of doing it in a group setting, like in a sleep school, and so they said that was really valuable to them, being able to share the experience. So that's kind of what inspired me to do this. And yeah, a lot of the information specifically with toddlers, I do find myself repeating a lot because they are quite typical in their behaviors. So I thought, I wonder if I can tell a lot of this information at the same time to a lot of people, and then we can just target the individual problems as well, and hopefully they benefit everybody's experience. So yeah.
And what age group is your toddler bracket for?
So I'm thinking between 10 months and 3 years.
Cool. That sounds really good. I think that'll be really cool for anyone who's wanting some help with that sleep time for that age group as well. I could definitely see the benefit in that.
Often they're quite simple remedies for toddlers. And the benefit with improving sleep for toddlers is parents are really ready. There's not a lot of emotion left about it anymore than just pure frustration, whereas little babies, there's so much transition going on for mums and babies that everyone's just so delicate. You've got to tread so carefully. But yeah, with toddlers, they're really, tell me what to do and I'll do it. We've just got to get this kid sleeping.
Yeah, and they're so much more robust, they're walking
So
around
much more and you know them better.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Okay, well, you've also got an ebook that people can download for free on your website, which I'll put in the show notes.
I do. So that's called Is This For Us? And it's a really good place to start before thinking about making any changes to your child's sleep, thinking about when would be a good time to start. Do we really need to do this? Is it something that we can just watch and wait? Can we afford to just wait a little while, see if it resolves? Or is it something that we can't afford not to act upon now? So just kind of
that sounds like a really great
focused
book for people to check out. So I'll put that in the show notes, and then once your new challenge, I should say, comes up as well, let me know and I'll pop that in as well with your website and your socials, so people can contact you and get onto you when they know that they need to get that help. So if you are sleep deprived or you're getting lots of broken sleep, please contact Katie.
Oh, thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.